What's going on, speculators? Firing up the Futures Fanatic afternoon special live stream on a Monday here. It is Monday, July 28th, 2025. Hope everyone had a good weekend. My weekend was occupied a little bit by creating a video that I want to touch base on here, so I can just kind of answer these questions, concerns, and comments in real time. Whenever you reach out to the interwebs, you end up spending a lot of your time just responding to a small part of the audience, which I get, but I think that it's worthwhile to do those types of things. Most people are not all that concerned about changes in prop programs, or they're diversified across a number of them, or they don't trade them, or they trade in such a manner where it doesn't really matter. So that's what I'm going to talk about today, but I am going to go in real time back and look at the comments. Haven't looked at any of the comments since a few that came through yesterday. Just wanted to start the broadcast by letting everyone know that this is for educational purposes only. You got to make sure that you know that the opinions expressed are those of the presenter, which is me. And that all trades, if we do look at the charts, which we should, and we will, because the markets are giving us some nice slow two-way movement today, that you got to consider those as being hypothetical, and they should not be expected to be replicated in a live trading account. Make sure that you read the risk disclosures and disclaimers that you see there on the screen and understand them. Okay, the next thing I wanted to do was just bring this up over here. Let me come over here and remove that. Before I do that, let's real quickly just look at the Kerpos. I am just long a little bit of S&P here in the bid zone, and I would be adding right here. I think I'm long in a couple different accounts. Yeah, so 11 and 12 and 13. So we'll just get that going there. Let me just take a quick look at what my positions are over there. Yeah, I'm long in accounts 11 through 15. So we'll see what happens. And if we're talking about other things, you know, maybe we get a little pop here and I could get a fill at VWAP right there. All right, now back to the task at hand. I'll go over this really quickly, and then because I already spent time on it in the video that I did, you can check that video. It's the latest video that I posted on my channel right here where you're watching the stream. And some people did point out that I don't think I glossed over, but I didn't emphasize that not everything is grandfathered in these changes. By the way, if you're not familiar, PropShop is a new entry to the prop trading space. They launched and looked a lot like Apex back in the day, with a lot of accounts and very deep discounts. And they threw out there's some payment rules that, while they did have some caps to them, they were very lenient in other ways, which I'll get into in just a moment. You can find out more about PropShop here on my channel. In fact, a lot of my streams have been about PropShop, and the accounts that we were just looking at were PropShop accounts that are on Tickblaze. So if you're walking in the middle of a movie or you don't know anything about this, then this first part of the stream won't really matter. But again, I'm going to just post this back to the comments and see what people's comments are. So the first thing is that the payouts had caps on them. They always had caps on them, and they just reduced those cap amounts for people buying programs going forward. And then they grandfathered anyone who had bought a program before yesterday. All right. These caps amounts are very reasonable, I think, for the size of the accounts. That's the first section here. They reduced the maximum amount of accounts that you can have from 20 down to 10. They also grandfathered that. The only way you lose those is if you blow them up, and if you follow what I do here, or if you trade the TDG way, or you use acorns to oak trees, or you trade appropriately for your sizing, or you use micros, or you do these programs properly. Honestly, you really never should blow up accounts, and you know that. And those of you that are follow my stuff and are still blowing up accounts, you know you're acting a little bit differently, or you're pushing things, you're trading minis, you're doing things, whatever. But shouldn't be blowing up accounts. So if you had more than 10 accounts, you're grandfathered into that. Unless you lose those, then you can't re-up for anything more than 10. Okay, now let's get into the payout eligibility and the fact that they restarted this is the most controversial thing, I guess, that they put back in a buffer. They should have had a buffer to begin with. Hindsight is 2020. They wanted to maybe see if they were going to attract a different cohort than every other prop firm in the past, but guess what? No, they didn't. I think over 80% of people that took payouts blew their accounts within 3 days after doing that. Why? Because they took a payout as soon as they reached the threshold, and then they drew down into that entire threshold. That has been changed everywhere, okay? Now, I get that there's an optics thing going on here and you can get as pissed off if you want, but if you're going to say maybe you did, maybe you only signed up for the pure purpose of being able to hit a very minor profit objective in your paid account and then draw completely into your buffer and then blow it up, or into your profit and then blow the entire thing up. Because you were allowed to withdraw down to something that left you with almost nothing, and then of course your very next trade you're going to blow things up, whether you try or not. All right? So I know there were a lot of comments on that. I'll go to the video in just a second and we can respond to it. Yes, you are correct. You can no longer withdraw into your buffer. That is a rule change that's disadvantage to those of you that don't give a shit about staying with a firm and feel entitled that for $15 or $20 or $150 or $200 if you bought one of the direct accounts, that you should be able to produce a little bit of funny money and then immediately withdraw it all so that you get your ROI to something that's spectacular, and then blow up the accounts and start again. And the fact that you can't do that anymore, I'm sorry. But again, I know that I'm speaking to a very small percentage of the audience out there, but if there's anyone complaining about that, you're just on the wrong side of history. And you never really wanted to build anything with any of these firms, right? You just didn't. That's just the flat out. You can complain all you want, but you had. Now, I would suggest that they should have never had that, right? They did spend several years looking at the marketplace. I did a video where I interviewed Sean, and they looked at the marketplace, and they were relatively confident that payout caps without having a required buffer would suffice. And they have a trading and education arm as well, and they thought maybe that their traders would behave a little bit differently. Well, guess what? Nope. So the vast majority of people that are taking payouts early in any of these programs are doing so in a way in which they never want to go live. They never intend to go live. They simply want to extract the most amount of money that they can from the program as soon as possible. And look, if you're playing within the rules, I understand that, and you're very profitable and you do the type of behavior I just mentioned, of course, I wouldn't want that rule to change either, okay? But it's disingenuous to complain about it and claim that it somehow is the beginning of the end, or the sign that the firm just doesn't want to pay out the right types of traders. Look, they could have protected themselves and set this program up differently to begin with less accounts, with payout buffers and a few other things, but there was some land grab that happened here. And those of you that took advantage of the land grab and were able to request and get a payout in a very lenient type of structure, yes, that carnival game is over, and I'm not apologetic for it. So I'll just leave that there. The next thing is the payout cadence change, and then a consistency rule came in from 40 down to 30. I don't like consistency rules at all. I don't like, as I said in the video, any of the rules that are different than what the real world is. But the programs are so different than the real world, with additional leverage and all this additional buying power that's totally nonsense. You're going to have a number of different rules, such as consistency, which doesn't apply in the real world. And by the way, consistency won't apply that much in their fully funded accounts, those that get to the fully funded accounts. It will depend on the buffers, and they will have daily loss limits that should be in all the programs. So that's the problem with PropShop and every one of these other programs, is they've essentially removed the daily loss limits. And daily loss limits are essential to learning how to manage risk in small accounts. So if you're listening to my stream or anything that I teach, you need to self-impose a daily loss limit that's reasonable, okay? And then you size appropriately to that daily loss limit, which is generally going to mean micros. And then you have no problems with any of these programs and any of their rules or rule changes. I wouldn't be surprised if some things get changed yet again as more data comes in. So you might start to expect that. So all that being said, you have so much choice. Many of you know that I have a vested interest in some success at both Tickblaze, NeuroStreet, PropShop Trader, as well as others, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that their program is perfect or they launched it in the way that I wanted to, because frankly, if there was a program that was set up the way I wanted to, most of you probably wouldn't buy it and participate, and I'd go broke, right? I'd be out there. There are some firms like the Futures Desk and others that are trying to do this the right way, that are only offering 2 accounts, that set the balances when you start at 0, that put traders that passed the program immediately into a live market. Trade Day was another that did it, quote unquote, the right way. And both those firms will probably survive and do okay, but they certainly are not going to be as profitable or as prominent as some of the others. All right, so now let's go in real time and see what people said, and we can just answer the questions. Let me see if there's anything over here that I want to answer. 14-day trial. I can't answer that right here. If I currently have 15 Warrior account evaluations, there's really no reason now, as I can only have 10 funded at a time. You might want to check with them. I don't believe that's the case. I think the grandfathered is, if you do, as long as you don't blow them up or fail any of them, you should be able to activate if you had started 15 beforehand. But it's a good question. You probably want to check with them. Because what this says is traders with more than 10 active accounts may continue trading those, grandfathered. And means you can activate more than 10 too. But make sure you check with them. That's a good question. So, Sophia, I believe the buffer is retroactive, and that's an oversight that I should have said in my video. So you want to check, but I believe the buffer is retroactive. Okay. So so going forward, you will have to have your buffer plus the amount of money to withdraw. And anybody, and I'm not suggesting, Sophie, that you're saying this, but anybody that argues with that, you don't really care. All you want to do is break even or get as much money as you can early on, and you have no interest in sustained payouts from that particular firm. Because if you draw down that deep into, so for instance, at Apex, I'm more familiar because I have 20 accounts there. For all the reasons that all this nonsense that people were saying Apex was a scam and they don't pay and all this bullshit that was mostly total bullshit. They didn't pay the people they shouldn't paid. And they should have figured out a way to get rid of that whole cohort long time ago. But their business was too big, and I don't want to get into Apex right now. But at Apex, the $150,000 accounts, wink, wink, whatever you want to call them, the $5,000 accounts, the $150,000 accounts, in order to take a payout, you have to get to 155,100. And then when you get to that level, you can take 2750 out, which would bring your account down to about, 150, 152 or 153 in that area, right? Somewhere in there, 152 and a half. Okay. If you trade the TDG way, you could do that consistently every 8 to 10 days, all the time, forever. Trust me, I'm doing it. Okay. But even that, in my opinion, is too small of a buffer, because then you're working with a $2,500 account again, right? You're working with a $2,500 account. But guess what? If you do this correctly, you can take a $2,500 to $3,000 account, and with no strain on your emotional capital, doing this correctly, double that, essentially get back up to the payout thing about every 2 to 3 weeks. Consistently across every account all the time, no. But if you put on a few minis or you trade in any other way, you're going to then lose that account. Now, many people, once they've received a payout or two, they don't care if they lose the account, right? Because their cost is so low relative to the return on investment that they don't care, especially if you're using copiers and multiple accounts and all those types of things. So I'm pretty sure that it's retroactive, that retroactively you now need to have a buffer in your account. So what does that mean? That means a little bit more trading time. And it also means the safety net is what it's called at other firms, so that you stay in the game. If you don't care about staying in the game and you're concerned about more of your time, the other thing that makes no sense is you either have a Gladiator account or you've already paid your activation fee on a Warrior account, so you don't even have subscription charges. That was a comment I saw right before I went to bed last night. I mean, I have no sympathy for that. These programs make you go fast because there's a subscription charge. And of course, what? Look, if you can't afford the $15 or $25 a month that these deep discounts provide you, then get the F out of trading. Or even $100, honestly. If the subscription, having right now, PropShop doesn't build in the activation fee. to the subscription, I told him, you should absolutely do that. Look how it's worked for My Funded Futures and for Take Profit and for all these firms. Everyone loves that no activation fee with a higher monthly subscription charge. I have no idea why necessarily, because that does force you to go a little faster if you're, you got whole pucker time about the fact that your activation fee is built into every month of your subscription. People got to use their effing heads. I don't know what's going on half the time. It's like people don't even understand simple math. But I was like, look, you should switch to that. Absolutely. You know why you should switch to it? Because everybody loves it. And everyone has a boner for the take profit model of 40% off and the activation fee included. Great. If you've already figured out how to get through those programs quickly and or appropriately, so you're not paying that much higher, but shit, I'd rather have an Apex or a Bullinox or a PropShop account that costs me $15 or $19 or $20 a month and just do it correctly. And then when I pass, pay the activation fee. But I told them they should switch because that's what the market wants. And guess what? The reset fees on accounts that have activation fees included within them are like 8 times higher. So it's better. That's best for the firm either, because somehow still the vast majority of people participating in these programs are blowing up their accounts because they're not over at TDG, or they're not listening to anything that I'm saying, or they're not listening to the Trader Talk Tuesdays that we do with people that I'm not saying everybody that is part of our community is having kick-ass success. People progress at different ways, but I can confidently tell you that the vast majority are keeping their costs low, appreciating the process, taking it slow, and okay with paying a monthly fee maybe to be in the TDG Pro trade room, although you can get that on an annual or lifetime basis for almost nothing, or, and link in the description below if you'd like to find out more about that. Oh, and by the way, as I just sort of sit here, it's almost every day, gang, just green, not always, one losing day every 6 or 7, but for the most part, this is what's going on. These are all PAs or qualified funded accounts with the exception of Take Profit. So, I don't know, add this all up. You can add that column. $2,000, $3,000 every day, no sweat, which leads to no rule violations, no concerns about getting the payout, no concerns about any of the changes that are happening at any of these firms. Okay, the payout cadence changed a little bit as well. It's still, I think, very liberal. I know there are firms that have pay whenever you want, right? And people really like that. The other thing that I would really love to see is more people getting to that stage to where this even matters. Because the loudest voices are the people that get to that stage by blowing up a bunch of accounts, trading in 2 different directions, gambling, trying to figure out how to sneak through, putting on too much size. I'm not saying all, but the vast majority. Okay? And then the final part is there was a big change to the estimated amount of payments, this is the last thing, that could happen on a SIM account until you were either forced or there was going to be some decision about moving a percentage of your payouts to a live account. Okay, and originally that was published as 12, and I think it's now all the way down to 3. People freaked the F out. Whoa. I thought I was going to be able to pay $135, and then I could take $1,500 out 12 times across 10 accounts or 15 accounts or 20 accounts before you're ever going to bother me, and now you've changed it to it's only 3, and then after that, I have to potentially be looked at being taken live or getting all my money and moving on. But they actually released something where you can continue to trade in your live account, depending on how that was structured and how much buying power you got and how much your contribution was, and still trade some of your SIM accounts. Guess where you can't do that anymore? Top Step, right? Can't do that at Top Step anymore. And I would suggest you probably won't be able to do that forever at PropShop. But they're newer, so they're gonna see what happens, because I'm the guy that has a lot of the data, because I ran prop programs, real prop programs, before any of this nonsense even existed. And I've been a quote-unquote real prop trader. at the places where you have to deposit $25, $50, $100,000 and you get leverage. And guess what? The churn on those desks is huge. The churn on the desks at like SMB Capital is lower because they provide a lot of trading. They'll take people in. The churn at the desks like T3 is very high, very high. And that's people blowing through their own 25 or 15 or 30 or 40 or $50,000. So the last thing these firms can do if they want to remain solvent is take people to live markets too quickly, even if that's their absolute intent is to grow an actual profitable prop desk with hundreds of traders worldwide. It's not going to be much more than hundreds. It's going to churn. And have incentives for people to stay with the firm. But there's a fundamental problem with futures prop, and that is futures are already highly levered as they are. So once you have even $75,000 or $80,000 and you know what the hell you're doing, you should be able to earn a very good living off that amount of money in the futures markets because futures are highly levered. If you implemented a 3 to 5% daily loss limit, when you have a smaller account, it has to be like 10% daily loss limit. Okay, so that's that there. Let me just go through this real quick, and then I will... confused with the buffer, I already talked about this. People want to stick... I don't know what that means. Yes, I know about Perdia and about the futures desk. They're both doing it the right way. How often can we take out the max payout up to the payout cap? Well, there's going to be a buffer, so you have to reach the payout buffer and then have profit above that. And I believe you can withdraw it every 6 days. First payout requires 6 total days, including 3 in the request week. After that, payouts can be requested weekly, as long as 3 active trading days are completed in the request week. So, I don't know. Is this too small to see on the screen? Can you guys see this? So, anyway, that's the answer to that. Question about holding the close of 5 Eastern. You can't do that at most firms. Some firms, so the question is about holding through the Globex. If you want to hold things through the Globex, just have your own live account. The vast majority of time, there's no gap between the open and the close during the week. We had a gap last night on Sunday. I've never understood this whole swing trading thing, and I'm not. By the way, when I answer these questions, if I get a little snarky because it takes me in a particular direction, I hope we all have kind of thick enough skin here to know that I'm just vibing. But the thing I'm vibing on is I never understand that. Just close the damn position and open it again. I think at PropShop, I don't know if they have that set up automatically, and you might fail your account if you still have open positions. So don't have open positions at PropShop. When are they going to actually notify customers? It all went out Sunday afternoon. So if you're a customer, check your spam or whatever. I got 5 emails about it, public emails. I got 3 or 4 private emails, but I got 5 public emails about it. So you should have been notified. There was a ton of emails that went out. Yeah, so someone's saying the futures desk does it right. Look, here's the deal, gang. As I have said, and I say on all my videos, and I understand that most people that comment or watch my videos on YouTube, the public ones and not these live streams, are not really part of my tribe yet. I get it, right? I'm trying to convert more people from the tribe. By the way, I'm just going to take some profits over here. So speaking of not being in these positions, this has a nice look of getting out of the zone here.
Closed.
And but I'm just going to... And then I'm going to leave some runners on in a few other accounts.
Position closed.
So up here, I'll leave the runner on. Okay. So long the S&P. Anyone else long the S&P with me? Give me one. Say MESL if you're long. Let me know. Okay. All right. Let me answer the rest of the questions in here, and then I'm going to go look at the ones in the. I'm going to. If you guys don't read YouTube comments, why would anyone want to read YouTube comments? They're especially great if, of course, it's content that you're creating. But real quick on the futures desk and Purdy and some others, here's the beautiful thing. You have so much choice. So much choice, right? You have so much choice, right? So go and find your home. Find the programs that you really like and that fit well with you, or you like the influencers or anyone who talks about those particular programs or whatever. You have so much choice now. There was a while until about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, you didn't have that much choice in the futures market. There was maybe 10 firms. Now there's 40, maybe 50, as all these FX firms and CFD firms start to get into futures as well. Didn't receive any notification. Well, they went out. They set the rules. They established the agreements. It's not bad for the trader to want their agreements honored. Well, that's a fair statement. But again, that's not how business works, people. I mean, contracts and things change all the time. They change. If you had to look at your cell phone contract and what happens there, but I understand the sentiment of it, and that's why me and a couple other larger people that were promoting this said, hey, you got to grandfather some of this. It can't be all of it. So they grandfathered the accounts and they grandfathered the payout caps. Okay. The only thing else that they did was put in a little bit more extended time to request a payout and put in a buffer so that you actually keep your account. So the spirit of this person's comment, I kind of get, but I really don't. And look, I'm not apologetic for PropShop or any of these. I'm just like, I do my best to always filter it through this double nickel guy that's been doing this longer than anybody you will ever find making content on the internet. Even guys like Anthony Candeli, I've been trading longer than he is. Okay? There's nobody that's traded these markets and been involved longer than I have. Okay? So I'm just trying to instill this wisdom if I can, or a little bit of common sense. And also there's a sense of entitlement around these particular programs. And I always say, and I really mean that, people feel, well, whether I paid $1 or $1,000 or whatever, it's a contract between me and this firm, and they can't change the nature of what, but that's just not how any business works. So I don't know why these particular companies are held accountable. And also the product that they're offering is such a ridiculously amazing, great deal. And I'll get to the video in just a moment, because there's going to be at least, let's do a over under on the amount of times people say that all prop programs are scams, and I'm scammy to even talk about them. Normally on a video that has more than 1,000 views, and I don't know how many views the video has, there'll be at least 15 comments on it's a scam. Everything's a scam. Which is funny, because I don't think people care or about understanding the meaning of words. All right, so
order filled.
No notifications. So you guys are long the MES. Cool. All right, well, let me just finish this off real quick, and then maybe we can trade for 10 minutes, and we'll be, I'm long here a few more, one last contract, and looking for the 27 halves, which would be VWAP. And I'm long over here too. Let's go over to here. So here, let's just take these off. It's right here.
Order filled.
And normally, if I didn't have other things to talk about, or if I would just leave all this stuff on.
Order submitted.
See if we hit it. Hit it. Hit it. Oh, it's teasing me.
Order filled.
There we go. Sold the ask. And let's sell the ask right here too.
Order submitted.
So this is a firm called Legends that doesn't get talked about very often, but
order submitted.
I like them. And George is the head of that firm, and he has a live brokerage firm, and anyone trade with Legends. I mean, there's just ridiculous amount of choice. And I always joke that I like Legends because their accounts start with ROD.
Order filled.
The accounts start with ROD.
Order filled.
So there we go, taking some profits over there. All right, now let's go to the video. This is always fun. This is my favorite. Oh, there's only 45 comments. Shit, we can get through this really quickly. All right, here we go. The problem is we put in the weeks doing the micro trading way. And one day they changed it where we don't get a payout. Pass for me. There's much better prop firms out there. Okay, cool. Great comment. I already talked about, so this is one that I mentioned. Put in the weeks. Man, you put in the weeks. You are such a committed person to developing the skill. You're putting in the weeks, man? Awesome. I think it's going to be very difficult for me to answer any of these comments seriously. But anyhow, I'm glad you're putting in the weeks. And good. Go find whatever prop firm you want. Sad for Rod, who's put in the position of having to defend these guys and his relationship with them. Reducing consistency is a big deal. Any change is a big deal. Interesting. Any change is designed to reduce your chance to succeed and increase their profitability, period. Rod's statement that more changes may be on the way is spot on. They will change again, and they won't be to your advantage. Okay. It's a 20-second delay, but I would be interested in determining how you would answer that. Or what, I mean, I like the caps. Any change is a big deal. Some people don't like change, man. I hear you. Just sucks. Soon they'll be out of sight, out of mind. Okay, good. Took over 2 years for Sean to set up a plan and precisely do what he wanted to avoid moving the goalposts. I would have expected with time that his team would have created a vision of PropShop, all factors, and would have been anticipated. Okay, that's a fair statement. Okay. This is a challenging ass business. And Sean and his team had modeled a lot of outcomes. And I do believe that they've felt that their tribe was going to behave in their prop program differently than they did. So they were let down. I have no idea how the vast majority of people that are part of my community trade these prop programs. I have a sense that at least half trade them the way we do because I see their screenshots, I see their payouts, I see what's happening, and they're doing it what we call the TDG way. And by the way, if you don't know what that is, that means acorns to oak trees, trading micros, establishing and protecting and respecting a daily risk budget, and using these programs properly for what they are, in which you can actually profit from them really nicely. The challenge that these firms have is that in order to attract customers, in order to sort of stay current with a lot of other things that are going on there, or in order to kind of grow big, which is the goal of PropShop for a variety of reasons, they want to have a very, very wide net, be involved in FX and CFDs and other things, and truly build a prop desk. Okay, it's going to be very, very hard. I've been trying to do this for a long time. I was a principal over a collective too. We looked at 50,000 trading strategies. It was nearly impossible to find sustained alpha that lasted. Okay, one quick thing I have to do over here. I'm just going to I'm going to close all these. All these positions, cancel all my orders. All right, there we go. Let me cancel my orders over here in TopStep.
Order canceled.
TopStep, I come in and I make my $200 and then I move on. But the sad part is I don't do it very often and I'm just stuck here at like $300 to $500. Make 200, lose 150, make 250, lose 100. I'm gonna concentrate on TopStep at some point, and then do everything I need to do, and take a couple payouts from them, and probably be done. I didn't activate these accounts for as long as when they first started that. So back to the management team and Sean should have anticipated this. Fair. They launched probably with more lenient and more aggressive programs than they should have. So that's fair. Okay. And but the changes of curbing this back, requiring a buffer, grandfathering everybody before to payout caps that were there, and then reducing the amount of payouts that you can have before you have to decide whether you really want. Here's the irony real quick, and I know I'm going in a million different directions here. For 2.5 years when these programs first started, and when people finally woke up to the fact that it was all sim trading, it was a casino game, and it was all funny money, I must have had literally 1,000 different email conversations, comment threads, and about I was doing a disservice. How in the world can someone who says they have all this background and used to be an NFA member and CTA and true futures trader and a professional, all these things, be backing these programs when they're phony money and they don't have any access to the real live markets and only live markets count and everything. Now you have a whole group that would rather do anything except be taken live because they have figured out that this is a golden goose, right? A golden goose. And by the way, since 2013, a firm like TopStep has changed their programs and the rules and everything hundreds of times to adjust to market conditions and the behavior of their traders and things that you could never foresee, right? So a lot of the time and preparation that was done at PropShop was security around making sure that payments worked okay so they couldn't get charged back out of business like Profit Trade, making sure that they had risk stuff in place that notified traders when they were violating potential rules. So when you do make it to these payout, look, all these things have to do with the payout rules, right? Are we correct? Like, there's been no changes to the basic structure of the accounts. If I had to find a change, I would love hedging to go away. I would love consistency stuff to go away because hedging is the silliest thing ever because in the real world, the CME provides you span margin and wants you to be long and short and hedged because that's a good position to be in. If you happen to be short the S&P and long the NASDAQ, you're going to get span margin on that. So there are trading related rules that I'd rather have had gone away. Okay. Another thing that didn't really happen in my video and no one talked about is, and I want to talk about it here real briefly, is the fact that they didn't take any traders and any money from the Big Six in Europe because they truly did want to make sure that they could always take a trader live before they took any sim money. So look at how much money they've lost out on by not really having the ability to do business in Asia and most of Europe. So if you want to take a firm at their word, look, that's what they did. So back to my original point of, for a long time, it was all about path to live trading, real trading, teach this thing, and I was in agreement with that. Shit, I wanted everyone to understand how real margins worked, that you can't buy a NASDAQ E-mini with less than $20,000 almost in your account. So the fact that you can buy 5 or 10 of them in a $2,500 account is criminal. Doesn't teach people how the real world works. So a lot of PropShop's time was spent in preparation for really building a live prop desk. And they got caught up in some data and behaviors that showed that most of the people participating in the programs, and certainly ones buying more than 10 accounts, didn't give two shits about ever doing that. So there's the change there. Okay, complete garbage. That's a good one. Business rules change, but like other firms, all right. So the optics here, it seems like there's a continuous theme about the amount of time. I actually think of it the other way around. They had the data about 2 weeks ago. I did the interview prior to that. I posted it a little bit later. So at the time, Sean and his team were not 100% convinced that they were going to do any of these things. They look at the data every week. Okay. As the data flows in, you have to make adjustments. I rather work with a firm that didn't hold out and was, ultimately this was the best thing to preserve, not to cap. See, here's the thing. They've already paid out. I don't know what the numbers are, but as of the last time I checked, it was over $500,000. Might even be way more than that at this point. Okay. And this is, a firm that's only been around for 6 weeks or so. By the way, I'm just going to close out of these prop shops over here. Let me go up here and just hit the cancel and close.
Order canceled. Order filled.
There we
Position
go.
closed.
And here, I'm just going to cancel and close.
Order filled.
How you guys doing on that long? It's working out pretty well, right? Working out pretty well. And I have one more here in G11, and we've made some good money today on
order filled. Position
on those.
Closed.
Okay, 1 second. I just have to cancel all my orders.
Order canceled.
Okay. Then I'm going to come over here, and I don't know how you guys do this, but I always, I just go to sort it by open and just hit this. The nice thing is that, you know, Project X and TopStep will just close them for you automatically. All right, there's always a trailing drawdown versus end of day comment. They did all this research and waited a year, and then that happened. Okay, so back to the timing. They seem to reduce the number of payouts before moving traders to live. That is correct. Was going to buy the 5+5 bundle. That is gone. So if the platform blows, that probably has to do with Tickblaze. There were problems with Tickblaze in the past, and it's getting a lot better. All the Zoom presidents claiming to not be one of those firms. They only lasted 2 months. That's cynicism that I think is fair. I'm not claiming that this is all sunshine and roses by any means. I'm trying to be measured here. Yeah, the fact that had to happen right away, in my opinion, having a little bit more data than probably most of you do, that's the way to do it. If the numbers are coming in such a way that the payout policy was too lenient, the payout policy that, again, only 11 or 12% of traders even get to that point. Thing I'm most concerned is that actually 12 weeks you might go live, and if they don't decide to move you to live, you're still confined to the payout cap. Okay, what's the difference with that? Now with these changes, it kind of makes me think it'd be hard to actually get out of the payout cap. Interesting comment. I don't know what that means. So a lot of this about timing, okay? So remember, I did emphasize, and this is a fair point, about all the time they took. This was not completely based on only rules. A lot of that time, like I said, was time spent on how to set up a firm that actually can have the data, necessary data and risk management infrastructure to understand. Because here's the thing with, you know, TopStep or Apex, the amount of traders they have actually live relative to how many people they have gone through their program, it's embarrassing. It's almost showing that it's completely broken and it's not working, and you're not going to really take that many people to that stage and build and grow and work with them. Not in a way that provides the profit potential that they were making or could have made in the sim environment. So this is a work in progress. It's a work in progress for PropShop. It's been a work in progress for me. I have about 11 or 12 traders on my desk, and it took me a lifetime to find them. So, you know, it ain't easy. So a lot of that research was research about how to set this up from a global perspective, and then some models on the payout stuff. It's not a perfect science. And again, I've emphasized about, I think that's enough on that. We got 5 minutes left. Let me just go through these. Okay, on the path to live and all those kinds of things, I understand that there's questions on it. My question is, how close are you to that state? And are you just asking all these things in an anticipatory way? And if you have issues with believing that it's the intent of the firm to do that, or you could make more money elsewhere, or you rather go with a firm that's going a lot slower and doesn't have this sort of mixed model, again, my answer, I'm not trying to deflect the questions. The answer is always look and have so much more choice. The request for ultimate clarification as to how that formula will work is going to be difficult because it will be on a case-by-case basis. It's the same thing as the way they do it at TopStep. It's not formulaic, okay? It's on a case-by-case basis. You could go right now and negotiate with TopStep or negotiate with a variety of other firms, not TopStep probably, but with like T3 or a few other firms on the stock side, and you could just completely negotiate what your first risk loss is. You can negotiate a little bit about your payouts. You can negotiate your desk fees to a certain extent. The only thing you can't negotiate, of course, is your data cost because the CME is the Gestapo. But other than that, there's a lot of negotiation involved in this. So the exact formula is associated with how much of your hard-earned sim money and time is going to transfer over into a live account. These are definitely just things that will be worked out over time. And remember, as we've been talking about, this firm has only been around for a little over 2 months. So, and I agree with the one comment, and the thing I said the other time is that there might be further tweaks going forward. You know, what a dream it would be if somehow PropShop got lucky and found 50 or 100 traders that were producing risk-adjusted returns and doing things a little bit differently without over-leveraging themselves that they wanted to take live. I don't think that will be the case, but they'll learn very quickly how to structure those systems and how to set them up. The one thing you definitely can't do once you're in true live accounts is you won't have as much buying power, not entirely as much buying power, because it's the real world with real margins, and you won't have 10 accounts. Maybe they can get consolidated down to 2 or 3 depending on sub-account situation. And I appreciate and love that I can discuss these things and have a forum and you guys are here listening. So I really thank you for all your time. A lot of this is just a little bit of hot air because it applies to such a small percentage of the market. So let me switch my method again. You have an infinite amount of choice. The one thing that doesn't change with these programs is that they're all small accounts. And the vast majority of them still allow you to trade more size in that account than you ever should or should be able to. That part's not going to change. If you can learn how to navigate that properly, you can turn one or several of these relationships into a cash flowing machine. And then you can decide to diversify and grow your business when you're ready, whenever you want to do something like that. By the way, real quick, I just want to make sure that I don't have any orders in over here. Okay, and I don't have any orders in over there. Okay? And as I show the screen, sometimes you don't need to have, this. Apex, Legends, Interactive Brokers, Ninja Trader, Tick, Take Profit, Tradeify. And I could also connect to Earn to Trade. I could connect to Elite Trader Funding. I could connect to Bullinox. I could connect to My Funded Futures. You certainly don't need that, right? And then over here on Tickblaze is where PropShop is. I'm keeping that as a complete separate environment so that I can really test the various copiers, the rhythmic copiers like Thor and ETP, and there's 2 others now that I'm testing, and really run Tickblaze through its courses here, and I'm keeping all that separate over on PropShop. But I'm going to end it here without going through all these others. It looks like there's not a lot of others, so I addressed most of them. And surprisingly, a good amount of the comments, I didn't see a whole lot of scam. Did we get any scam? This one's interesting. I apologize for the situation you're facing. I'm not facing a situation. I recommend considering prop sermons that have at least 2 years of positive reviews. Okay, yeah. Plenty of choice. Like I said, there's always plenty of choice out there. All right, let me quickly get through the, I'll just bring Ninja up over here, and we'll get through any of these others. So I saw someone answered your question, Jack, but the question is, to earn X, what's your sizing, what's your whatever. The most important thing is that I do all of that with inside either a $440 risk budget or an $880 risk budget, and the vast majority of it is done somewhere within there. So those returns are done within a $600 daily risk budget. With a $600 daily risk budget, you can have up to about 3 to 4 micros on in most markets except for the MNQ. So that is how I generate that. I generate that typically with the Dow Jones, the MYM, the MES, the MNQ, the MBT, the MGC, and occasionally the MCL. And that's for the prop programs. I do almost none of that trading at all in my other accounts. I just sell premium on treasury options. But for what we're doing here, I want to walk the talk and show you what's possible. And then my favorite channel, as I often say, and I hope there's a new post to this. This is my whole goal in life, is to get more people posting to this. Okay, there we go. This is somebody who made $500. So this is me. Okay. So there's the answer there. And you can find out everything about our community, my teachings, who we do, who we are, what we offer. It's all free. And you can check the email the description down below. I would recommend grabbing the prop book, starting there, Prop Done Right. It's right over here. And then secondarily, you can look to check out our trade room trial. And I also offer a 30 video course that's free as well. The only thing you ever pay for if you engage with us is to get access to our trade room. And I don't see how anyone would ever do that unless they, before they saw value and they wanted to participate in the community. With PropShop, are we allowed to add a contract? To my knowledge, there's no DCA flag in PropShop. There is a sizing flag, so you cannot trade in an erratic or non-consistent manner. So the question is, with PropShop, are we allowed to add a contract or more in the direction if it's going against you? This whole DCA concern that was brought about by Apex and a few others. You will be fine at PropShop if you use consistent and regular sizing. That means if you were scaling into 1 to 4 micros at levels that made sense, you can't trade MES, and then put on 3 ES. That would be inconsistent, and the risk system will flag you for that type of behavior. I do really like Thor so far. It's been a little buggy. It's weird to access it through their other platform, but so far I do like it. I like it more than ETP. More on that soon. If you've been following my streams, my goal, and I rarely hit any of these goals because I got so much crap going on in my business life, but my goal is to have at some point this year, hopefully by the end of this quarter, a VPS that you can buy that will come pre-installed with Ninja, Tickblaze, and obviously you can install anything else you want, as well as a very easy way to just sign up and get access to some trade copiers for those environments, including either Replicanto or affordable indicators. Just basically something that sets you up and ready to go if you want to do something on Windows thick clients, right? It'll have my desktops pre-installed and all that, so you really don't have to do anything except for hook up a few things and license a few things and then just log in with your credentials. All right. Funded Futures Network. I had some accounts there for a little while. I thought they were fine. Yeah, they seem okay. I don't have direct. The ones that I have the most direct experience with right now, folks, the direct ones are the ones that I'm logging into every day. So for me, it's Apex, Legends, TickTick, Take Profit, Tradeify, and PropShop. Those are the ones that I'm currently trading with. I have no fewer than 35 firms that are on the bullpen just trying to figure out. I do have accounts at still at Elite Trader Funding. I still have accounts at the Futures Desk. That's another program that has been delayed. I was going to do some coaching and stuff over there. That's got delayed. And I have accounts at a few other places, one called Ola Prime, one called Funded Next, and a few others that I'm just in the early stages. But nothing is too differentiated anymore. That's another thing, folks. Nothing is really very differentiated. The whole idea behind this finally coming together with PropShop was, and Tickblaze will get there. I know there's been some growing pains with it. I understand it's resource intensive. It's going to get there, and we're getting there closely. And what I can do is deliver something where you just have the desktop and you just install it, and your bands are here, and you could use, you know, minute bars if you want, or you can use where did that go? Here you go. Or you can use these brick wick bars, which are these Renkos, and with a little bit of knowledge about how the platform works, you're up and running, and you can trade. And if you like Macs, then you'll be able to do it on a VPS. All right, I think that'll be it. I answered all the questions. Thanks, everybody. Stay green, trade like you mean it. And final thing, I really do appreciate all the interaction with my videos and people watching. If you can like and subscribe and turn on the bell notifications, it seems like we're building a little bit of a core audience every time I stream, which is great. Tell your friends, let's grow that. And then, you know, all the engagement, all publicity is good publicity. So thanks for all the comments and stuff on the videos. They allow me to do even more content. So engagement is what makes this all possible. We'll see you at the next one. Stay green, trade like you mean it. Bye.